The Genie Script. As the smell of death lingered in the air, the armored personal carrier in front of us came to a sudden stop. It was too late for my buddies. The explosion blew their vehicle into the air. When I saw my friend's bloody arm come down right in front of me, we rushed out of the vehicle to help our friends. We were deep in hostile territory. Chances were that every road was mined. IED devices and claymores were everywhere. We drove at a snail's pace, scouring every road with our eyes looking for the telltale triggers. Inside our vehicles we were sitting ducks. Stepping out on the roads was even worse. Holding my M249 light machine gun. Sometimes we had to dash out of our vehicles to make an arrest. Every step we took was filled with danger. What happened next was beyond bizarre. Dealing with children was the worst. Naturally, we did everything to protect innocent children. But sometimes, the children would smile and wave at us. And next they would lob a grenade in our direction. And everywhere we stepped was the fear of stepping on an IED that could blow us sky high in a second. My heart pounded so loudly I assumed my buddies could hear it. We were petrified, and although we tried not to show it, we knew that any moment one false step meant they would ship us home in a body bag. But my accidental discovery didn't just change my tour of duty, it changed my entire life. Most people walked at a snail's pace. The very next step could blow you apart. So, when we had to walk, every step counted, but not for this old man. He walked down the streets without fear or hesitation. I noticed him walking down the streets without staring at the ground. Was he crazy? Didn't he know how dangerous walking these streets were? I saw him day after day, walking those streets without a care in the world. He always ended up in a little antique shop. I pointed him out to my lieutenant and wondered, could he be the enemy? Is that why no one bothers him? There's an old saying in the army. Never volunteer. The lieutenant said, Wes, check him out. So, I got out of the APV and approached his shop. I had my machine gun in my hand. I was ready for anything. Except, a smiling face greeted me as I walked in the door. Hello and welcome, the man said as I entered the door. Without answering, I checked out the shop. The back room, upstairs and cellar were all clear. The man went on polishing a brass lamp. The kind they used in all those genie movies. The shop owner looked up at me and asked, do you know why you are here? Of course, I knew why I was there. He was walking through booby traps without a care in the world. Before I answered, he asked another question. Why are you so afraid? What planet was this guy on? We were at war with the terrorists. We never knew which side was going to attack us today. My buddies were being blown apart every day. We never knew if we were going to see our barracks again. You are here because you see me walking the streets when you are afraid of your shadow. Correct. He reached out to pat my hand and I nearly hit the ceiling in fear. My friend, relax. You can turn off the fear switch. It's not helping you at all. You look like a deer in the headlights. Do you remember your Star Wars? He said with a twinkle in his eye. Luke was looking for a great warrior and found Yoda. He didn't believe someone so small could be so in touch with the Force and have so much power. If you like, consider me your Yoda. Just then my radio crackled. Wes, are you okay? I double-clicked my mic. That was the signal that everything was okay. I was just brewing a cup of tea. Would you like some? I have some American coffee too if you like. He scurried about talking nonstop. You are fearful because you aren't running your mind. Your fears are, may I touch your forehead? At that moment, my life changed. The instant his thumb touched my forehead. I can't even describe the situation. Although it was midday, my mind went pitch black. I was under the stars. There was a surge of energy running through my body. I was soaring above the planet. I felt happiness surging through my veins. In the background I heard Queen singing, We Are the Champions. We are the champions. And then his thumb left my forehead. And I was back in the shop. This time I was energized and confident. And are you still afraid? My Yoda asked as a smile crossed his face. What was that? I asked him breathlessly. That is called Shaktipat. It's an ancient technique to connect you to the energy of the universe. When I transferred this energy to your body, you noticed the immediate difference. Now how do you feel? He asked. I feel terrific. I feel grounded and connected. And after a few moments I added. I don't feel any fear at all. So, you're not afraid I'm a terrorist anymore. He smiled at me. Now, I don't think I will see you again, Mr. Wes. So, I'd like to ask you to think about what you really want out of life. Think of everything your heart ever dreamed of. And then he touched my forehead again. I didn't realize it at the time. But the energy rush was even more than last time. Without thinking about it, I literally fell into a chair. But I never noticed it. I was somewhere in space looking down at the planet. I realized that at that moment in time, I could have anything I wanted on the earth. At that moment, I thought about where I had come from. Dire poverty. The army was my escape from a life I couldn't deal with. I saw myself wealthy. After these years of living in hell on earth, I deserved a break. I was never the kind to even dream of wealth. But that word seemed to be beckoning. When I opened my eyes, I saw my new friend smiling at me. I knew that he understood what I asked for. Wes, you are going to get everything your heart wishes for. From this day forward, you will have all the money you ever wished for. You don't have to even work for it. It will flow to you. My mind was stunned. Was this a joke? But then I checked in with my body. I was absolutely fearless and confident. What you did to me by touching my forehead. Is that something I can do to others? The day will come when you will be able to help people achieve their dreams. I promise. We shook hands before I returned to my buddies. I had zero fears as I crossed the streets. My biggest problem was thinking what I would tell my buddies. I knew they would mock me if I told them the story of my Yoda. But when I got back to my armored vehicle, the sergeant wanted us back at the base. Surprisingly, no one even asked for details. It was as if the visit with the shopkeeper never took place. The first inkling that something was strange was when we started to play poker that night. Normally I was terrible, but that night, a huge pile of cash grew in front of me. I made over $2,000 that night. But that was only the beginning. It was the beginning of a series of strange coincidences. My mom called from back in the States. I had received a check from a place I had worked for and they closed down without paying me. Apparently, someone new had bought the company and decided to pay off all the debts. My mom sent me a picture of the check. It was for $12,262. I told her to deposit it in my near-empty bank account. A few days later, my sergeant called me into his office. The lieutenant was sitting next to him. I had no idea what was going on. Wes, what happened in that shop you went into last week? Instead of answering the question, I asked the obvious question. Is everything okay? I didn't do anything wrong. No, nothing is wrong. We just got a call from the official Iraqi National Bank. The civilian who owned that shop passed away yesterday. At that moment, I recalled him saying he wasn't going to see me again. That's terrible. But why are you both here asking me about this? We haven't been back in the area since. Well, the day after you visited him. He went into his bank with new legal papers and left the contents of the shop to you. It looked like an antiques shop. It didn't look like anything special. That's where you're wrong, Wes, blurted out the lieutenant. The antiques he had were quite valuable. He turned in an inventory list to the bank. That shop was worth over $500,000 in merchandise. I already told the bank you wanted the money instead of the antiques. I need you to fill out these forms and give me your bank account information back in the States. The money will be in your account within the week. Could this really be happening? I sat outside the office for the rest of the afternoon filling out the paperwork. I called my mom to get the information for wiring information. She pressed me to tell her what was going on. But I couldn't explain it. I walked around the base in a fog. My buddies came up to me as soon as the news was out. Wes, my man, can I borrow some money? I could hardly believe it when my mother called me to tell me that over $500,000 was parked in my account. Wes, you aren't doing anything with drugs, are you? Mothers always think the worst. What was I supposed to tell her? So, I told her the truth. She burst out laughing. Mom, when he touched me, he transferred some hidden powers to me. I don't understand it, but the proof is all this money showing up. By this time, I was shell-shocked by these events. My tour was nearly over. I was eager to get the heck out of Iraq and go home. My mother thought I was a drug dealer. My buddies thought I was cheating at poker. But I had a peace of mind that was almost supernatural. My last weeks overseas flew by. I boarded the plane to take me to Germany, where the docs would check me out and all the papers granting me an honorable discharge were waiting for me. After a week in Germany, I flew home to Houston for a family greeting. There, the first question on everyone's lips was, Wes, what's with all that money? Gee, thanks, Mom, for telling the immediate world. What are you going to do with all that money? Everyone was looking at me like a bank account they could withdraw from. I went silent because I wanted to keep my inner peace and balance. Me, Uncle Henry stayed until everyone left and sat me down. Wes, you've got to find yourself a smart stockbroker and invest that money. Right now, you've got a target in your back for everyone who wants to play you for a sucker. Get that money invested instead of figuring out ways to spend it. But the next day changed my life forever. Mom's phone rang and she handed the call to me. Is this Wes? Asked a strange voice on the line. Yes, it is, I answered. My name is Nadia, and my sister Amal is here with me. We are the daughters of Mr. Ahmed, whom you met in Iraq. I was totally stumped. Our dad told us to tell you we are Yoda's daughters. Oh, I never knew his name. How can I help you? I thought they were going to ask for the money back. But I was shocked when they said, our father asked us to meet with you about something important. Look, I didn't ask for the money. I'm sorry it showed up in my account. Wes, they answered. Trust us, we do not need the money at all. That was my father's gift to you to convince you to do something for him. Do something for him? How? He passed away. I was puzzled. Do you remember your conversation with our dad? Of course. I remember every word. Then you will recall there is some unfinished business based on a promise he made to you about you becoming wealthy. You've gotten some money, but there's a lot more to come. We set a date for me to fly out to California to meet them. They picked me up in a cute BMW convertible and drove me to their home in Malibu overlooking the ocean. As soon as I saw their house, I knew these two sisters didn't lack for money. Nadia started. Our father set us up financially and sent us to Stanford for university. We invested the money with a hedge fund.